Please do like, share and subscribe and press the bell icon.
Hello everyone. So in the previous two videos we have learnt about discovery of electrons and discovery of protons. Now even till now, even after the discovery of the electrons and the protons, the scientists, they were not sure what does an atom contain. So all the scientists of the world, they were working hard to find out the composition of an atom, what is present inside the atom. They knew about the electrons, they knew about the protons, but they were not sure of it, whether these particles are present within an atom or not, or what is the exact composition of an atom, how many protons, how many electrons, how much space is occupied by the protons, how much space has been occupied by the electrons. They were not sure of it. So they were still working hard and they were still trying to find out the composition of an atom. And with all these regards, it was a Rutherford who made a remarkable experiment. His work was remarkable and he was not at all alone. That is, he together with your H. Giger and E. Marsden. These three scientists together, they carried out this experiment, but it was a Rutherford who headed in it. That is, he was the main person who carried out the experiment, and hence we call this other as the Rutherford's experiment or the nuclear model of the Rutherford. So in this experiment, what he did is that he took a box, lead box, a box made up of lead. Now this experiment, this is called as the Rutherford's nuclear model. That is, this experiment we call this a Rutherford's nuclear model experiment. So what he did is that he took a lead box, a box made up of lead, and inside this he took a source of alpha particle. Alpha particle. Now alpha particles are positively charged particles that we all of us know. So he took a source of alpha particle. Any source of an alpha particle, which could be helium or any other source of alpha particle. We are not bothered to know what source he has taken, but some source of alpha particles that he has taken, positively charged. Alpha particles are the positively charged particles. And then here he made a system in such a way. Now this alpha particles, they were emitting out certain rays. Certain things, certain invisible rays were emitted out. Now all these rays, they would have gone in different ways. So he made a system in such a way that they should be passing through one small hole. So when they are passing through one opening, all the rays, they come together. They were made to, the arrangement was made in such a way that all of them, they should be passing through this. Otherwise also they would have passed straight, but they would have been slightly scattered. But when he just placed in such a way, that is an arrangement, one box was made up of lead, a box made up of lead, and at the center there was one opening, there is a hole was there inside this lead box. So all the rays, they pass through this hole. You just imagine, suppose if you are having a box having a small opening, when light is made to pass through it, what happens? All that most of the light particles, it will pass through that hole. So in this way, he made to pass these rays through the lead slit system. This is called as the lead slit system. That means all the rays were collimated into one fine beam. All different rays, they just got concentrated. So that word concentrated, that is called as colligated. So all these rays, they got colligated and they passed through this lead slit system. And over here, this screen, this is made up of zinc sulfide screen. Okay. And at this particular place, there is one gold foil, a very thin gold foil, a very thin metal or a very thin gold foil that has been placed over here, and this is the fluorescent screen that has been placed over here. At the same time, there is also one movable microscope which was kept. That means this is a representation of a microscope. A microscope was kept, and this microscope was kept on moving to see what exactly is happening over here. So what happened? From this source of alpha particle, these rays, they got colligated into a fine strong beam, and it was made to fall on this gold foil. And when this rays, it fell on the gold foil, it was observed that certain rays, that is certain flashes were produced on this fluorescent zinc sulfide screen. Certain flashes, that is certain flash of light were seen on this screen of zinc sulfide. That means some fluorescence was produced on the zinc sulfide screen. Now it means what? That these rays, when it fell on the gold foil, some some fluorescent was produced very strongly at the center over here where these rays they fell. Somewhere on towards the side, somewhere extremely got deflected. So some flashes were produced because of this alpha particles, that is which the alpha particle passed through the gold foil, and when it has been passed through the gold foil, as they came in contact with the zinc sulfide screen, they produce certain flashes of light. Okay. Now what does this mean? That the flashes of light that has been seen. What can we conclude from this? That the flashes of light that has been formed over here on the zinc sulfide screen. You think over it. What can we conclude from this? Now it is just like in this way. Let me explain you in more deeper way. Now this gold foil was extremely thin. That means atoms of the gold were arranged regularly, single atom. Because it was extremely thin, we assume that it was not many atoms one above the other, but there is a single layer of the atoms that has been arranged in this way. I hope everybody can say this. So when those alpha particles, now these are the passing of the alpha particle, that means those rays, when they pass through the gold foil, some of them they just passed undeflected straight, and this happened that most of those rays from the alpha particles, most of them they passed undeflected. Most of the rays which were given out from this alpha, that is alpha source, it passed through this, and then it passed through this gold foil also, and most of them they produced flashes of light. Most of them they passed straight, undeflected. No deflections were produced, and they remained undeflected. So this undeflected over here I am shown it with a red pen. Most I cannot draw more lines over here because the board is very small, but you assume that most of those rays passed through the gold foil and this came in contact with the zinc sulfide screen over here, most of them, and they remain undeflected. Some of them they got deflected through very small angles. You can see some of them they got deflected. There is a small deflection. You can see the it has been slightly slanting. This way it has been coming, and then it has been slightly in the upward direction. This one also slightly it's in the downward direction. So there is a slight deflection through small angles for some particles. Slight deflection through small angles. This also deflection through small angles. Not a very large angle, but through small angles a deflection was there. That is, instead of passing straight, they just showed, that is, they turned their way through small angles. And some few, that means 1 in 20,000. Some few, very few, extremely few, that is 1 out of 20,000, they just got deflected through large angles. Now how much large angles? That is, they got deflected through 180 degrees. Round about 180 degrees they got the deflections. That is, they came over here, they came in contact with the gold foil, and as they came in contact with the gold foil, what happened? They got deflected with a large angle, that is with an angle of 180 degrees. That means they are turning back. They turn back. You can see they are not passing through this gold foil, they turned back through large angles. You can see this also with the green pen I have shown, they have been turning back. They got deflected through this large angles. So same thing, there is many atoms I have shown over here, same thing with a single atom that has been shown over here. That is, most of this, that is with this got undeflected, they passed through this atom, single atom I have taken. So most of the rays they pass through this, and some few, that is shown with a green pen over in this particular diagram, it has been shown with a green pen, they got deflected through small angles over here, through small angles, and then over here these ones they have got deflected through large angles. That means they returned back over here. The rays they get returned back over here. Okay. I hope now this representation is clear with all of you. Because if this is not clear, the further part will become difficult. So I hope this is clear with all of you. If you are not clear with you can ask me certain questions later on, or you just may go back, you can just pause and you can just listen again. what exactly I need to say. Okay, so let's proceed further. What does this experiment it means? That is we have to find out why most of the rays are passing through this, and why some of the rays are getting deflected through small angles, and why most of them, some few, that is 1 out of 20,000, is getting deflected through a large angle, that is 180 degree. From these observations, from these conclusions, what do the scientists they came to know about the atom? What information does all these observations and conclusions and this experiment gives? What idea do they give about the atom? So it was assumed that an atom, most part of an atom is in hollow empty space. If an atom is in hollow empty space, so then because it is in hollow empty space, that is only a very small part has been occupied with the central nucleus. You can just imagine that is your school playground, a big playground, and in that big playground somewhere in the center you keep one ball. You just imagine the size of your school playground, such a big, and one ball that you are keeping in the center. So that is the ratio of the size of an atom to its nucleus. And because this atom is having such an hollow empty space, that most of the alpha particles, that is these rays, are passing through the gold foil. Because the atoms are hollow empty space, so all of them, most of the rays, they passes undeflected, and they just produce the fluorescence over here. At the same time, it was also came to the conclusion that there is something in the center, something positively charged, heavy mass is there in the center. That is why, as some positive charge is there in the center, and as the positive charge is concentrated in the center, these alpha particles being positively charged, we know that when two charges comes together, they show repulsion. So when the alpha particles, they came in contact with this positively charged nucleus in the center, they showed slight deflections, and they just moved, they turned their way, and they just got deflected through small angle. At the same time, it was also the scientists, they came forward with the idea that in the center there is some heavy mass. Heavy mass is concentrated in the center. So as the heavy mass is concentrated in the center, when these alpha particles, that is the rays of the alpha particle, they comes and they collide with something which is very heavy, and they get reflected through large angles, they get returned back. And why only some few? Because this part, that is the small part, this part is very, very small. That's why only some few of them, they are coming in contact with the center which is having a very heavy mass. Okay, and then they are returning back. So these were certain information the scientists they got from this Rutherford's alpha particle scattering experiment. So it is said that almost the entire mass and the positive charge, so the points that the Rutherford gave, that is almost the mass and the entire positive charge is concentrated over here in the center, and due to presence of this entire mass, the nucleus is very heavy. Because of this, it's not because of this, but it's because of this centrally situated heavy mass, the nucleus is very heavy. The density of the nucleus is of the order 10 raised to 14 gram per cubic centimeter. I am writing down over here 10 raised to 14 gram per cubic centimeter. That is, the density of the nucleus is of the order 10 raised to 4 gram per cubic centimeter. Now, as compared to the size of the nucleus, this value is too high. It may be not too high if you compare it something else, but depending on the size of this particular thing, the density is very high. That is 10 raised to 14 gram per cubic centimeter. Then the size of the nucleus is very small as compared to the size of the atom, due to which all the particles are passing through this hollow empty space. That is, the radius of the nucleus is 10 raised to minus 13 centimeter. I am writing down over here radius of nucleus. Let me write down over here, that is radius of nucleus that was found to be, that is around about 10 raised to minus 13 centimeter. 10 raised to minus 13 centimeter. Whereas while the radius of the atom is of the order of, for the atom, radius of the atom is equals to 10 raised to minus 8 centimeter. 10 raised to minus 8 centimeter. So just imagine, radius of the nucleus is 10 raised to minus 13 centimeter, whereas the radius of the atom is 10 raised to minus 8 centimeter. So if you compare both of them, there's a vast difference. The more negative value that you go, that the size will become lesser and lesser, and here the less negative value, the size will be bigger. I hope that everyone knows over here. Then the nucleus of the atoms, they also came to the point that the nucleus of the atoms of different elements, they possess different positive charge. The magnitude of the positive charge will vary from element to element. That means the nucleus of one element will be different from the nucleus of the other element. The positive charge of one of the nucleus of one of the element will be different from the positive charge of the other element with its nucleus. So that will vary from element to element. Obviously it will vary from element to element, so therefore different nucleus will be having the different positive charge. The magnitude of the positive charge will vary from element to element and from nucleus to nucleus. At the same time, the nucleus of the elements of different elements possess different nuclear charge. The nuclear charge will also vary from element to element. Then, so from this, I hope it's clear now. So then he generalized all these things, all these observations, all these things he generalized. He gave an example, that is, the structure of an atom can be compared with the solar system. That is, sun in the center and the planets moving around it, revolving around the sun. So in the same way, he said over here that in the center there is a nucleus. He compared the nucleus with the sun, and the electrons he compared with the planets. That is, just as the planets revolve around the nucleus in the solar system, and in the same way the electrons are moving around this positively charged centrally situated nucleus. That is what he made his observation in the space around the nucleus, or in the empty space, which is also called as the orbits. He gave the name as the empty space as the orbits, that the electrons, they keep on moving in an empty space around the nucleus. So he compared the model of an atom with the solar system. Everybody were very happy. That is okay, we got a model for the atom. So this, it continued for some years, but you always know, somebody does something great, many people will be behind them. So although Rutherford has done this work, and this model was accepted for some few years, but then later on, after some few years, it was discarded. Now one of the reasons I'll tell you today, there are two more reasons which I'll tell you in the later on videos, because you need to know some more basics of this. So so one of the reason was that, if you imagine that if a body is continuously moving, suppose if I ask you people, okay, if one day you get a game class, you are very happy. But if suppose if I say, okay, you don't have to stop, continuously you have to play football in the ground, continuously without stopping. A time will come when you will be losing all your energy and you are going to fall down. Isn't it? Is it true for everyone? It's true for you, it's true for me, it's true for everyone. That is, you can work only up to a limited time. You can run only up to a limited time. You can move only up to a limited time. After that, you start losing. As you are moving, you are losing energy, and ultimately you fall down. At the same time, when a substance is moving continuously around this circular path, in a circular path, it is radiating out energy. So if the electrons are continuously moving around in this circular path, all these electrons are continuously radiating out energy, and what is happening? Ultimately, the electrons are supposed to fall down into this centrally situated nucleus. That means the atom collapses. If the electrons are falling down into this, if the electrons, they fall down into the centrally situated nucleus, obviously this atom is collapsing. But does it happen? If atom is collapsing, the world would have collapsed by now. But the world has not collapsed. That means the atoms have not collapsed. The matter has not collapsed. Nothing has collapsed. So this theory, it proved to be a failure, and no longer it has been no longer that is we are following. At the same time, one more point, that is Rutherford, he said, which I missed out to tell you, that the number of positively charged, that is the number of magnitude of the positive charge due to the protons, will be equal to the magnitude of the negative charge by the electrons. And this we know this, that is, an atom is electrically neutral. That is, an atom does not possess any charge. if atoms possess the charge, all the substances in the universe, everything that you are coming across, if you touch it, if you do that, all of them, all the substances, they are any kind of matter, all of them, they are made up of atoms. So if all these substances are made up of atoms, it's quite obvious that if the atom is not neutral, whatever that you will touch, you were supposed to get a shock. But this does not happen. You don't get a shock. So this means what? That an atom is electrically neutral. So Rutherford also mentioned one more thing which I missed to tell you when I was explaining all this, that is the magnitude of the positive charge due to this centrally situated nucleus is equal to the magnitude of the negative charge given by the electrons. Means an atom is electrically neutral. So he worked so hard, he gave all the required things. The only thing, that is the only mistake that he did was, I hope you can all imagine what was his mistake, that is comparison of an atom with the solar system was his mistake. So this was a biggest drawback, that is comparison of an atom with the solar system was his biggest drawback, and this model, it was a failure, although for some few years we followed it, but no longer now we follow it. So we stop today over here. Thank you, students.